Welcome to CG Dive. This is the second video about using the Mixamo rig add-on for Blender. The first video was very well received and it outlines the main things that you need to know to work with this add-on. So if you haven't watched it, please do, and then come back to this video. Because in this video, we'll be addressing a few additional, more advanced solutions to common questions and problems. Please note that the Mixamo add-on was updated around December 15th, 2021. So if you haven't downloaded the latest version, please do. It fixes a bunch of issues and it also adds support for Blender 3. Now, speaking of Blender 3, the latest version of the add-on should work with the latest version of Blender. However, there is a problem with the FBX import in Blender 3 that may prevent you from importing some Mixamo characters. The problem has to do with the number of UV maps of the imported mesh. It's just a little mix-up in the FBX import code, and I'm not going to go into detail, but there will be a corrective release of Blender. It's going to be called Blender 3.0.1, and that will fix this problem. Until then, if you get this error, you could use Blender 2.93 or even Blender 3.1 Alpha. Basically, any version aside from Blender 3 should be fine. If you need to work in Blender 3, you could import your FBX in 2.93, save a blend file, and then open it again in Blender 3. So after the previous video, I received a lot of questions, and probably one of the most common question was, what if my character has textures, like this one? Because indeed, when you import a character into the Mixamo system, it doesn't really import the textures and the materials correctly, but that is easy to fix. I'm going to show you how to do it right away. So this character consists of a couple of meshes, and it also has several materials on it. So for example, the body has a head material and body material. The eyes have a separate material and the hair has a separate material. So it's a fairly complex character. It should make for a nice example. By the way, this is a fan art of a World of Warcraft character. I got it from BlendSwap, and you'll get the links in the description. Okay, let's move this character to Mixamo and rig it. So I'm going to select all of the meshes, go to File, Export, FBX, and here I can basically export with the default settings. If your scene is more complex, then you may want to tick selected objects only, but here I don't need to. And there is a way to tell Blender to export the textures inside the FBX file. You kind of have to change this to copy and click this option, but I'm not going to do this because it's not necessary. I'm simply going to restore the default settings and export. Okay, here I am in Mixamo, and I'm going to upload a new character. I'm going to drag and drop this FBX file that I saved earlier. Click Next. Use the quick rigging tools here. Click Next and wait a minute or two until the rigging process has finished. Okay, auto rigging was successful. Of course, you can see that this character here does not have any textures on it, but that is fine. I'm going to press Next. Go to Animations, and choose any animation for this character. And now my character has some basic capoeira movement. Now I'm going to download it with the default settings and with skin. Okay, once my character is downloaded, I'm going to go back to Blender and go to File, Import, FBX. And this is the file that I downloaded, so I'm going to import it with the default settings. Here it is, but obviously this mesh is missing materials or textures. This original mesh, on the other hand, has the textures and materials, but it doesn't have the animations. And I think at this point, many people try to transfer the animation to the textured model, but that is not really necessary. This model here, the imported model, has all of the UV data that we need, so all we need to do is apply the original materials to it. As you can see, it also has the material slots imported, so I need to replace these imported materials with the original ones. So I'll just click on this arrow here and I'll choose the body material, the original one, the original head material, on the hair, original hair material, and then we have also the eyes. I'll replace it with the original eyes materials. And there we go. We have a textured model exactly like our original one, and it also performs the animation. From here, I can actually delete this original mesh, or just in case, I'm going to put it in a new collection and hide it. Okay, from here, I can select my armature. I can go to the Mixamo add-on and create a control rig. And here's the animation working with the control rig. I can then go back to Mixamo and maybe choose another animation. Okay, I'm going to download it, and this time I can download it without the skin. I can go back to Blender, import, FBX, import the new animation. Then, just as I explained in the previous video, I can apply the imported skeleton in this field here. Select my control rig and press Apply Animation to Control Rig. And here I have this animation applied to my textured model. So this way I can keep importing as many animations as I want, and then you can also combine them in the same way that I showed in the previous video. I'm not going to go into detail now. Okay, something else that you may want to do after you rig your character with Mixamo is to make some changes to the rig or to the weight painting. Mixamo does a nice job, but it is not perfect. So for example, here in this animation, I can see that Mixamo attempted to weight this tail that this character has, but it is imperfect. You can see how it squashes and then it stretches. Here we can also see that the breasts lost a lot of volume, and that is due to the weighting that Mixamo applied. So let's try to fix this. For the breasts, I'm simply going to work on the weight painting, and then I'm actually going to add new bones to the tail. And we already created the control rig, so I'm going to start over. You can do these edits after you generate the control rig, but I would recommend doing it before. So I'm going to delete what I have here and import again. I'm going to apply my materials again. And then let's change the animation to the jumping animation because it shows a lot of the problems. Dope sheet, action editor, and then let's see. I'll change the name of this animation and apply it here. And now I can select the armature, shift select the character, go to weight paint mode. And I think the breasts need to be weighted to this bone, so I'm going to control click on it, set up my weight painting settings the way I like it. So I'm going to set a weight of 1, strength of 0.2. I'm going to enable mirroring and auto normalize. I have a whole series of videos about weight painting, so if you don't understand these settings, please watch that. And with a couple of clicks, this looks better. There are other problem areas, but this will be enough as an example. Okay, now let's focus on the tail. I'm actually going to unlink this animation, go to pose mode, select all bones, and clear all transforms. And then in edit mode, I'm going to add a new bone, name it tail, position it around the tail, and then subdivide it. Something like this, and then I'm going to parent the first tail bone to the hips bone. Control P, keep offset. Okay, these tail bones are not affecting the character yet. So one of the best ways to add new deforming bones to your existing rig is go to object mode, have your rig selected, then shift select the character, go to weight paint mode, and then I'm going to select these tail bones. I'm going to shift select them so that I have all of them selected. Then I'll go to the weights menu and choose assign automatic from bones. And that created weights for these bones. Now our job is almost done, but because the tail was weighted to other bones before, we need to get rid of these influences. So for example, the hips is affecting the tail, and I need to get rid of this. So I'm going to set a weight of 0 and strength of 1. I'm going to turn off front faces only, and fall off I'm going to set to projected, and that will allow me to paint through the mesh. I have a video about that as well if you want more details. And now if I just click in this area, it will delete all of these weights. I just need to be careful not to affect the body. So something like this should work. And this leg is also affecting the tail. So let's delete these weights. Here I affected the body a little bit, so I pressed undo. Okay, now if I try to rotate the tail, it is affected by these tail bones. So I'm going to select all of them, rotate them slightly, and then one last thing, I'm going to smooth these weights a little bit. Something like that. So now we have a tail. Something else that was suggested in the comments of the previous video is adjusting the fingers that Mixamo produces. Again, Mixamo tries its best, but sometimes the fingers may not be positioned perfectly. So if you need to change the position of the knuckles, you can do that right now. So these are the kind of edits that you can do. You can change the weight painting and you can add new bones, but you have to keep the base hierarchy of the rig unchanged. You cannot subdivide any of the existing bones or add bones in between them. What you can do is create new bones and parent them to the existing bones. That won't create any problems with the Mixamo add-on. So now I could go to the Mixamo add-on and create a control rig, and it's going to work just fine. I can apply an animation to it. And there we go. Now, technically, we didn't make any big changes to the base rig, so I could just go back to Mixamo, download more animations and use them with this character. But just in case you did any big changes to the rig, for example, let's say that we changed the fingers quite a bit, then what you can do is re-import this rig model back into Mixamo and then apply animations to it. So what I need to do here is I'm going to hide this additional armature, and then I'm going to select the main armature that I have with the control rig, and I'm going to select all of the meshes. And then I'm going to export an FBX. I'm going to enable selected objects only, and on the armature, I'm going to turn off add leaf bones and turn on only deform bones. This way, only the deform bones will be exported and the control shapes will be excluded. Then I can go back to Mixamo, upload a character, drag and drop the FBX that I just exported. And because this character already has bones, I'm not going to go through the auto rigging process. I'll have the character ready for use. So just click next. And here I made a mistake. I exported the character in a pose that is not the default pose. So let's unlink this action, go to frame 0 and clear all transforms. And let's do this again. Export the FBX. Go to Mixamo, upload new character. And now we have the proper default pose. So now I can apply any animation that I like. And then again, I'm going to download it with skin. I can delete this character, import again, set up my materials again, and that's it. The whole importing and re-importing may have appeared a little bit complex, but you only have to do it once, and now everything is ready for use. I can create a control rig. I have my tail still, right? I can download another animation without skin this time. Import it. Apply it. From now on, this character will work exactly as intended. Now here is another little workflow that you may need. If I go back to Mixamo, now I have this character, so I can apply animations to it I can download them and use them in Blender. But let's say that I go to characters and choose another character, one of the existing ones. So once it is loaded, I can no longer go back to my own character. I mean, it is not stored anywhere here in Mixamo. So if that happens to you and you deleted the original FBX that you used in Mixamo, you can always go back to Blender, set your character in the default pose by clearing all transforms, and then export the character exactly as we did a minute ago. So I'm going to have the armature selected and also select all meshes, export FBX, selected objects only, and an armature, no leaf bones, and only deform bones. Export it, go back to Mixamo, upload your character. Again, because we exported bones, there is no setup necessary, just click next and start applying your animations. Downloading them, bring them into Blender, it's all the same stuff. So this is how you bring your character back into Mixamo. Another question that I got after posting the previous Mixamo video is, can we retarget an animation that is not from Mixamo to the rig produced by the Mixamo rig add-on? And the answer is absolutely yes. There are many ways to do it. You can do it with Rococo, as I'm going to show right now. You can do it with AutoRig Pro or with any other add-on that you know how to use. So here I have a random mockup data that I got from somewhere. And I'm going to retarget it to this Mixamo control rig. So I've switched all of the limbs to FK mode because that is easiest to set up. But if you watch my long tutorials on retargeting, you'll know that you can also retarget to the IK controls. But anyway, to save some time, I've went ahead and set up my bone pairs. I'll just need to move this armature to the center of the world and retarget my animation. And it is going to work. Okay, but there is another approach that you can take that may be even better, and that is, let me start over. So here I have a Mixamo character and I haven't yet converted it to control rig. So what I can do is just create a copy of this armature, and then I'm going to move the actual character to the side a bit, and now I'm going to retarget this action to this copy of the Mixamo armature, and the armature of the actual character I'm going to convert to control rig. Okay, so now in Rococo or whatever you're using, I'm going to set up this rig copy as the target, build bone list, and then without explaining much, I'm going to fix some of the bone pairs. If you want more info about that, watch the previous videos about retargeting. I can hit retarget. And now this motion will be on the copy of the Mixamo armature. Okay, great. And now I can go to the Mixamo control rig, go to the Mixamo tab, apply this retargeted motion as the source skeleton, and apply animation to control rig. And here is the motion retargeted, and what is great is that it was retargeted right to the IK controls, which gives us a lot of freedom to edit and improve this animation. Another question that I got was, is there anything special that we need to do if we wanted to export this control rig, the Mixamo control rig, to a game engine? And the answer is, this rig is basically game ready. You only need to make sure that you only export the deforming bones, which is easy to do in Blender. So you would go to File, Export FBX, and then the FBX options may vary depending on the engine that you want to use, but usually you would only export the selected objects, and then on the armature, uncheck Add Leaf Bones, and definitely check only Deform Bones. And here's this character in Unreal. As you can see, the animation is working. And if I take a look at the skeleton of this character, you can go through all of the joints that it has, and you'll see that only the deforming bones were exported, no controls. And this skeleton will also be compatible with the mannequin in Unreal and also with the humanoid system in Unity. So this will also work the same way in Unity. I have videos about exporting characters to Unreal and to Unity and also to Godot. So if you want to know the exact settings that I recommend, then watch these videos. I also got a cool little tip in the comments of the previous video. When you have a character with applied animation in Mixamo, if you download it with the default settings, the FBX file that you'll get will be named after the animation that you used. However, if you switch format from FBX binary to FBX for Unity and download, then the FBX that you'll get will be named character name at animation name.fbx. And I haven't tested this extensively, but this FBX format seems to work well in Blender. It works just the same way as the binary FBX. So if you need better naming of your FBX files, then you may want to try downloading FBX for Unity from Mixamo. I hope you enjoyed these additional tips for working with Mixamo and the Mixamo Rig add-on for Blender. Please click like, subscribe and so on. As always, big thanks to my supporters. Consider joining them and thus contributing to the future of CG Dive. Thanks.